What up, Poppin' T fam? It's your boys Poppin' T, as usual. You know, Poppin' T. I got the jug with me today. Gotta hydrate in practice. No mug. But still content, even though there's no mug. Pop, it's a crazy day in NFL today, man. Let the people know what the T is.
Stefon Diggs has moved to Houston, Texas. He will now be playing with C.J. Stroud, Nico Collins, Tank Dell, Dalton Schultz, Joe Mixon, Damian Pierce.
Yep.
That offense is stacked. And to get Stefon Diggs for not a 2024 fifth or a 2024 second, a 2025 second, that's crazy. And the Texans are looking scary right now.
Yeah. They got a fifth and a sixth back also. I just feel like the Texans have been robbing people. Them and the Browns, and I don't know why we keep letting them get away with this. But I know the strippers down there in Houston are happy. So are the fans. And so is CJ. It's gonna be a sight to watch next year for sure. But you know we'll find a way.
I was watching Skip or Undisputed. Not that that's my that's where I get my knowledge from, but I was just trying to see some takes across the media world on the trade, and Keyshawn said, I just get so excited when teams put weapons around their young QBs, and if the Texans haven't done that better than anyone, I don't know who has, because I mean they've given CJ everything he needs to succeed, and it's exciting. Like, if I didn't have to probably play them in the playoffs, this is one of my favorite teams. Like, just to see where they came from in 2021 with Davis Mills, no one in that receiving core. It's exciting. They're gonna be sick. So fun to watch next season.
Yeah, we watched that team build Deshaun Watson a roster, completely destroy said roster, draft C.J. Stroud, and then build a roster again.
Even better, in my opinion.
With a better head coach, in my opinion. The sky's the limit over there, and it's you can't even forget that they got Daniil. So it's going to be a terror over there for the AFC South. Good luck to y'all, Coach Jags and Titans. But we'll see what happens, you know.
Yeah. And what does that mean for the Bills?
Bills fans, welcome to the club. Of your quarterback having to do everything. Josh Allen was already doing everything over there. Seemed like Diggs kind of checked out, halfway through the season. But now he's really by himself. No Steph, no Gabe, no Trey. A lot of that roster is gone. Poyer, Hyde. So it's going to be a one-man army over there. So I don't got the Bills winning the AFC East. I think
you got the Dolphins?
I got the Jets.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think
they keep slipping my mind.
Yeah,
obviously, but
JETS.
I like the Jets. I like the Jets a little bit more than the Dolphins too.
Honestly, I think they put a very good roster together. Just this last offseason, building on what they already had. Already had a great defense. Multiple time MVP winning quarterback. Hopefully he can get healthy. Because he definitely has the guys around him to do it this year. Even if he isn't healthy, Zach Wilson might have enough around him to get them close to a playoff berth. Because that team's just that good.
Yeah, they're gonna be good next year. But I think that's enough about that trade. You want to talk any more about that trade, or you want to get into our next division for our RSD series?
Last thing I'll say on that, man, I just hope EDC and John Harbaugh are watching. And I hope they're just hitting themselves in the head man, we should have did this before we played Lamar. Because that's when you got to do it on that rookie deal. But we'll get into that in another episode. But yeah, let's get into
I
this.
think I would hope that they see that and see that as a sign that we got to make a push. But neither here nor there.
Yeah.
Let's get into it. We're gonna be breaking down the NFC West this episode. A stacked division. Probably could have had 3 teams in the playoffs last year.
Yep.
But I'm excited to get back into this. It's been a couple weeks since we did our breakdown, and we know a little bit more about how these teams addressed free agency. So let's get right into it with our first team, the NFC Championship team, the Super Bowl team, not the Super Bowl winner, the 49ers.
Yeah, so starting off with the R segment of the RSD resign, I think there's one option here. Brandon Ayuk, they have to find a way to get him back. I personally believe he's better than Debo. I think Debo might bring more to the table, as a running back also. But if we're talking straight wide receiver, I think Ayuk is the number one guy over there. He's gotten better every year. 750 his rookie year, 826 his sophomore year, 1,000, his junior year, and we'll call it senior year. He posted, 1,300, 7 touchdowns. The kid is productive. He's very good after the catch. You're going to probably have to pay him about $20 million a year, which is about what they're paying Debo. But to me, if I'm the 49ers, between him and Debo, I'm picking Ayuk, honestly.
I agree. I think Debo, you like what Debo brings you after the catch. I mean, the dude's built like a running back, and we've seen it so many times, him just shed tackles and bring it to the house. But you got a lot of yak threat on that team between McCaffrey, George Kittle, Debo, obviously. But Brandon might be the best separator on that team, and you need a separator. You don't need that consistent yak from every one of your players if no one can separate the way that Brandon Ayuk does. So I agree with you 100%. I think he might be, at least for that offense, I think they need Brandon Ayuk a little bit more than they need Debo.
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, his ability to separate, that's, to me, the most important thing as a wide receiver. You got to be able to get open. Not saying Debo doesn't, I just think Ayuk is more talented, like you said, in that regard.
Yeah. So for the sign segment, they weren't huge this free agency because obviously they're saving up for their own guys. But I really like the Leonard Floyd signing. I think it's not quite the caliber of player of Chase Young, but I really like what he's able to do on stunt packages, which that's been his bread and butter.
Mm-hmm.
It was in Buffalo, and that 49ers defense excels in their stunt packages. So I think he's going to be a great chess piece for them. This is a dude that came off 10.5 sacks last season, quietly, in Buffalo. So I think they're happy to have that chess piece there on that D-line, kind of restacking things after losing Armstead and Chase Young.
Yeah, definitely. Honestly, when Pop had kind of told me he was going with Leonard Floyd, I was a little shocked. I personally didn't know he was a double-digit sack guy the year before. But I think it would be a good signing for him, like you said, after losing Chase. I don't think Chase's production was all that. So when you can go with a guy like Floyd who has more experience and, you're getting him at a cheaper price than you would Young, I can't be mad at that signing.
Yeah, you gotta. That defensive line has been the heart of that, or I guess that front seven with those linebackers. But that's been the heart of that defense. It's definitely been built up front, and you can't let that slip away with all the work you're having to do with the offense. So I like that signing,
especially when, like you said, when you're that close. You just said earlier, not the Super Bowl winners, but the runner-up. You just can't allow your team to dissipate. So even though it's not the long-term solution, it's a plug-and-play guy that'll definitely make an impact his first year over there.
For sure.
So I got the draft for the 49ers. Um, Originally, my heart wanted to go with Chop Robinson.
This is pick 30, by the way.
Yeah, pick 30. I wanted to go with Chop, but
Wait, 31.
yeah, yeah,
No,
yeah,
the
31.
Ravens are pick 30.
Yeah. I wanted to go Chop, but after you said Floyd, I just feel like it wouldn't make sense due to Floyd's production. So I got them going with Jordan Morgan out of Arizona. It's one of those prospects that is late first rounder, early second. Just depending on how the board falls. He's 6'5", 311. Almost ran a 5 flat in his 40. He's an athletic guy, athletic tackle. He's not as polished as some of the other guys, but Trent Williams isn't getting any younger. I believe he's 36. And Colton McKivitz, he's not a franchise right tackle, obviously. Um, so if you can get younger at the position, plug in Morgan, playing him next to Williams, and eventually when Williams, retires, you can move him over to that left side. But I think it's just a position they need, which is hard for me to say because I don't think the 49ers necessarily really need any position just because of how good their roster is.
Yeah, I mean, that was probably their weakest position group last year, and if they can hit on this pick, like, team stacked as is. Let's just
Yeah.
add another great offensive lineman to it. Protect Brock Purdy.
You're $900,000 quarterback.
Yeah. All right. You ready to move on?
Hey, let's get to the Rams.
All right. So for the re-sign part of it, re-signing that I really liked for them was re-signing guard Kevin Dotson. This was his first year with the Rams. He was never super great with the Steelers, but as soon as he came over to that Rams scheme in McVay's offense, it was night and day better. And he proved throughout the season that he was worthy of a large contract, and that's what they gave him. Let me see if I can find the specs on that real quick. I should have had that ready. They signed him to a 3-year, 48. So that's pretty sizable money. It's not up there with what Robert Hunt made and what Dickerson made, but I mean that's serious money for a guy that the Steelers were willing to give away. So
Yeah.
I like keeping Matthew Stafford upright, especially with all the injuries, and hopefully they can keep adding to that through the draft.
Yeah. Dotson is I don't want to say very young, but he's a young player. Was part of that 2020 draft class, fourth round selection. So to get that type of contract as a fourth round selection, we're doing something right. 2022, his PFF grade was a 65. 2023 was an 85. So he had a crazy jump. Only 4 sacks allowed, 2 penalties, and played almost about 900 snaps for the Rams. He's an athletic guy, and the Rams run a lot of outside zone. The kid can move. 321, 6'4", so he's a I don't want to call him. I don't want to call him a refrigerator, but refrigerator with legs. We'll call him that. The
Yeah,
kid can move. So I really like that signing for LA,
for sure.
especially what Kyron Williams was able to do last year. It makes sense. Makes sense. So sign for the Rams player I like most. It's Trey White. Trey White hasn't been what Trey White was. Has dealt with injuries over the last couple seasons, but it's still Trey White. I still got faith in him. He's not like I said, he's not the corner that he was, but I think he can provide them valuable depth and experience at the position. I believe he only signed a $10 million deal for 1 year, which isn't a bad contract at all for a former All-Pro cornerback. So I hope he can go in there and make a difference for them, but I'm not expecting a whole bunch of noise from him. I expect him to have a kind of Stephon Gilmore with the Cowboys kind of effect over there in LA.
I think any addition to that secondary was going to be an upgrade.
Hundred
And
percent.
Trey has been an elite player in the past, not the last couple of years, but in the past he's been up there. And to take a 1 year flyer on a player like that on the cheap, I'm doing that every single day because that was you're playing with a bunch of scrubs out there last year. Not to call them all scrubs, but Akella Witherspoon and Russ Yeast and like we got to improve on that. And Trey White, can't forget Darius Williams, bringing him in, Cam Curl.
Yeah,
Like that's a nice little addition to their
definitely.
secondary. So for the draft, I've seen a lot of O line, but ever since my goat Aaron Donald retired, it's defensive line all day. You got Kobe Turner, who is a had a great rookie season. Arguably could have won that Defensive Rookie of the Year award. And then you got Byron Young on the other side or on the edge. But I was debating between Byron Murphy and Leatu Latu, but I'm gonna end up going with Leatu Latu, especially because Leatu Latu is one of the most refined pass rushers that I've seen coming out of the draft in the last couple of years. He's got the full tool belt. He has the production in college to back it up. He's no slouch of an athlete either. His testing was good and better than a lot of people might have expected. Maybe he's not the physical specimen that Dallas Turner is, but if you want a player that's ready to go right away, it's Leatu Latu, and if he can stay healthy, I think he's going to be a menace on that defensive line.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I believe he's the best pass rusher in the draft.
I agree.
Um, I saw some videos of him at his pro day. The kid was moving around like a wide receiver. It just didn't make sense. To be his height, his weight, his size, he just shouldn't be moving like that. Um, 6'5", 259, ran a 4.64 40. The kid is an athlete. When he puts that hands in, once he puts that hands in the dirt, it's not too much a tackle can do because he's just so explosive off the ball. Just get off. Like you said, full pass rush tool set, has a great long arm, great reach. Um, so I'm excited. I think LA would be a great pick for him. Wouldn't have to go too far from where he played college ball. And it just seems like LA always seems to find stars. And I definitely think he can be that next one for them.
For sure. It's not even like it's like the first move he'll like go to a swim and then like he always has that counter move ready to go on pretty much all the reps you watch of him. It's incredible to watch, and I think whoever ends up with him is gonna get a steal because he's gonna go after Dallas Turner, and I don't think he should personally.
Yeah, I don't think so either. 13 sacks last year. You can't beat that, man. You can't
Yeah,
beat that.
for sure. Love what the Rams
All right,
did though.
so yeah, definitely. We got the Cardinals. Cardinals up next. I had to re-sign for the Cardinals. We all know the Cardinals roster isn't good. I'm not going to sit here and BS to y'all. It's not too many notable players over there to resign. I say that with no hate, no malicious intent. So for me, it was Tristan Colon, former Raven. He resigned with the Cardinals on a 1 year, $1.75 million contract. He's one of those guys that can play guard and center for you. He played in 14 games last year, started four. Um, he's not a starter. He's just a very serviceable backup. Like I said, has that ability to go back between guard and center. You can't really pass up on that in the NFL, especially for $1.75 million.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of expected that the Cardinals were not going to have a lot of players to resign because this was a rebuild year for them, certainly. But can't hate bringing back offensive line depth.
Never, never.
So for their signing that I liked bringing in Sean Murphy Bunting. Didn't have the best year last year for the Titans. Maybe his last 2 years with the Bucks and the Titans wasn't what it was when Brady was there, but any like kind of the same thing with the Rams. Any addition to that secondary was going to be an upgrade, and I like bringing in Murphy Bunting to compete for a starting job there. He had 2 picks last season. They got him on a cheap deal. I think the base is 7.5 this year. So not anything too crazy, and you just need any addition to that secondary. And he's shown to be productive in the past.
Yeah. Like you said, that last year, Brady 2020. Since then, he just kind of struggled to stay on the field. He's dealt a lot. He's dealt with a lot of injuries since then. Um, but when he's on the field, man, he's a good corner. Like you said, they need help. They need anybody. I bet if you went out there and tried out for the team, you might make the roster.
I've
Uh,
been I've been working like my DB drills when it's slow at work. I'll get my work in. So I've
Behind
been
the
getting
desk.
ready.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
just don't know if they put you in the slot, but I trust you to play outside. When you got some help from the sideline.
I'll play
Um,
the star. I'm Kyle Hamilton.
you follow him wherever you go.
Yeah,
I don't blame. Hey, just know you got to stick Puka with her. You got to see him twice a year.
that's all right. Luca's a scrub.
Yeah, but I can't be mad at the Bunny signing. They needed help. They need help everywhere. Um, so yeah, I just can't knock it.
For
Um,
sure.
for the draft, number 4 pick, I think there's one option. Um, Mr. Marvin Harrison Jr. himself. Um, I would love to give them a DN at 4, but I don't think there's anybody worth passing up on Harrison Jr. for. Uh, where we stand right now, the Cardinals wide receiver room is Michael Wilson, Greg Dortch, and Chris Moore.
Hmm.
That sounds like the 2018 to 2020 Baltimore Ravens wide receiver core.
Worse. Worse.
This is abysmal. This is tragic. They got to do something about this ASAP. If they don't draft Harrison, I predict that the city of Glendale will be burned down in approximately about 24 hours. The people will revolt if he's not picked at 4 or if the Chargers trade down so that somebody can pick a quarterback there at 4. Um, it's probably the best wide receiver we've seen in a while. The man didn't test at the combine or the pro day, and he's still a guaranteed top 5 pick. I think his film tells you everything you need to know. And I'm not going to keep yapping about Harrison Jr. because we all know who he is.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that Neighbors is testing the way or has tested the way he did, um, and it's still pretty much consensus Marvin Harrison just shows you everything you really need to know. It's gotten to the point where with Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison, like they've just been at the top for so long that people are just now starting to nitpick
Yeah.
anything that they can to try and move them out of that spot because they're bored with them being in that spot. But I mean, Marvin Harrison's a one-on-one talent, and any team that ends up with him is gonna be living large with a probably top 10 receiver right out the gate.
Out the
Uh,
gate.
Now I got a question. If the Vikings are coming to you offering you 11 and 23 and whatever they want to offer next year, would you rather have Marvin Harrison Jr. or a Latu and a Brian Thomas Jr. or an Adonai Mitchell?
If the if the price is high enough, I think because the situation the Cardinals are in, they have to trade back. Um, if you, like you said, if you can get 11, 23, and you can maybe get a second rounder next year, and maybe a fifth, seventh, something like that. I think you got to do it because that roster is just so bad, and you need as many picks as you can get. They're paying Kyler. Nobody wants to take on that contract, so you're kind of stuck with him for now. Um, maybe you trade back to 11, and then you try to trade back up with some of the capital you just
Like with
got.
the Bears or something.
Yeah,
Go get Roma Dunze or something.
yes, exactly what I was about to say. To go get a guy like Odunze, um, but it's
They
just
did
like
it last year.
they need so much over there, and they need the picks to do it. So I don't think you can really pass that up if you're Arizona.
Yeah, I agree. But he's getting picked the pick after if you don't take him at 4.
Yeah, 100%. Chargers aren't going to pass up on that.
Yeah. I don't care if they view something else as a bigger need than wide receiver, which I don't think they should. Marvin Harrison drops to you, you're not passing that up.
No, same thing. Same thing. Like I said about Glendale, the city of Inglewood would be burned down. SoFi Stadium would be in ruins. Um, but we'll see what Jim does.
Yeah.
You never know with a new head coach.
Crazy dude. He's living in an RV right now. Like
Yeah. Who's got it better than us? Who's got it better?
well, that'll wrap up the Cardinals. Pretty much anything they could do this offseason was going to be an improvement, so hats off to them.
Go Cardinals.
All right, let's move on to our last team for this division. The Seattle Seahawks. Um my favorite re-sign from this team was probably Leonard Williams. Um you traded a second round pick for him, you had to re-sign him. You couldn't let that walk away. Especially since it didn't push you to the playoffs or anything. Um but I just don't think you could let him walk out the door. Um, he's hasn't shown up on the stat sheet so much, but he's a presence inside. If you watch the Seahawks or you watch the Giants the last couple of years, like he's physical, he's around the ball, like he's a productive player. Um, only ended up with 4 sacks last season, but I think the Seahawks had to find a way to re-sign him because it's not like they could let him go and be fine. Like that interior defensive line for the Seahawks has been an issue for at least 5 years. So you had to get him.
Yeah, like you said, when you trade a pick like that, second rounder, can't let him walk out the door. Um, it just, I don't want to say the same thing I said about the Cardinals, but like the defense just needed help, especially that interior D line. Um, you just can't let him walk out the door. Draymond Jones, Jerron Reed, and Leonard Williams. He's obviously the best out of those three because their base defense is a 3-4. You just can't let your best D lineman walk out of the door.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that concerns me is the fact that Draymond and Leonard are kind of similar players in like they're closer to D tackles, but they're kind of tweeners a little bit. Like you
Yeah,
wouldn't want to line up either of those guys at nose. So they're kind of redundant, but like I said, when you're lacking in talent, you don't let it walk away, especially when you invested such a high draft pick in it.
yeah. He's one of those guys that can play 3-5. Um, the one if he has to, but he does have that versatility. So like you got to pay when you have versatility. You have a Swiss Army knife that can do multiple things. Can't let him walk out.
No doubt.
So who did I pick? Oh yeah,
Rayshawn.
Rayshawn Jenkins. That you boy.
Go Canes.
Um, the Seahawks let Quandre and Jamal both leave in free agency, released, whatever you want to call it. Um, so you had to go get a safety. Julian Love has showed that that you can trust him. He's a playmaker. And he can be one of your safeties of the future, but you also got to put somebody next to him. You know, you can't play back there by himself. Jenkins isn't necessarily a standout player, but he's a consistent player. Has played in 17 games both of the last two seasons. Um, had 116 in 2022, 101 in 2023 tackles. Just to clarify that, 7 TFLs last season. So like he's a good player. So putting him back there with Julian Love, having two safeties that can play deep and both are willing to get their nose, in the defense, get down there with the linebackers and DNs, D tackles, and make tackles. Uh, I always love seeing that. Um, so yeah, the kid is versatile. He's a great tackler. He isn't afraid to get his nose dirty. And I think he'll make a good pairing with Julian Love.
Yeah, I agree. I expect in Mike's defense that he'll play more of the Kyle Hamilton role. Obviously, he's nowhere near that player, but he's a big physical safety who likes to play up in the box. And so I would imagine that was kind of Mike's vision when he made that signing, a cheaper version of Kyle Hamilton. So I think he'll fit right in there. And obviously, I have a little bias towards him because he's a Miami Hurricane.
I can't blame you.
Yeah.
Gotta support your guys.
Oh, yeah. So our draft pick for the Seahawks, I think that Talise Fuaga, the tackle out of Oregon State, is a perfect fit for them. I think that they would play him at guard because they got two very capable offensive tackles in Charles Cross and Abe Lucas, but that interior offensive line has to be the worst in the league on paper. Like it it it's not close in my opinion. So this dude is a mauler. The only area where he really struggles is speed around the edge. And sometimes people, faster edge rushers can just beat him to the corner. So why not make that not as much of an issue? Move him inside to guard where he is still going to have that mauling capability, but might not have to deal with as much just straight speed off the edge. So put him next to Abe Lucas or Charles Cross, and I think you'd be feeling pretty good.
I actually like that a lot. Through this whole draft process, I never really thought about moving him inside. I thought he was a guy that could play tackle in the league, but putting him at guard, he's 6'6", 324. Um, like you said, he plays with aggression. He plays with passion. He's a baller. Um, Seahawks interior offensive line is garbage. You got Gino back there. You've said that he's your quarterback going down the road. So you got to protect the man. There's no cheaper way to do it than using a draft pick instead of signing somebody. Um, so yeah, I really like that. I really like him with his hand in the dirt. I think he can be a great presence inside, either right guard or left guard. Next to those tackles, there is no twist that's going to get through those guys. Because the DN slants in, and now you got to deal with that big old 6'6", 324 at guard.
Yeah.
D tackle goes out, and you got Lucas out there waiting for you. Um, so I love that. I love that signing for them. Well, not signing, but draft choice for them.
Yeah, I think it's a perfect fit, honestly. But I think that'll wrap it up. This was a fun division to talk about. A lot of teams on the rise, and obviously you got the 49ers reigning supreme in the NFC South right now until anyone else says otherwise. So yeah, I think we're gonna get 2 episodes to you in the next coming days. So stick around for that, and we're happy to talk ball.
Yeah. I heard you say a couple teams on the rise. Uh, don't lie to these people. The Cardinals are not on the rise. The Cardinals will be selecting within the top 5 next year. Also, this team is is not built for the now. It's not built for the future. Um, they got a lot of work to do over there in Arizona. A lot of work to do over there. Um,
Yeah, I guess so. But when you stockpile this many picks, it's easy to get your hopes up.
yeah, they got to hit though. They got to
Yeah,
hit.
definitely.
Um, what's the
But
what's the last pick they've hit on? Really, like Kyler. I guess Kyler, but like
2020 they took Isaiah Simmons.
he's no longer on the team.
2021 they took Zaven Collins. No, that's not a hit. And then um 2022 they took the tackle. Uh
Johnson.
yeah. I mean, showed flashes, but I wouldn't call it a hit yet. I guess Kyler is the last hit.
Yeah, and, Kyler's been up and down.
Got
Um,
to stay healthy.
and you can't forget about Josh Rosen at pick 10,
Woo!
2018. So
Beast.
they got they got all these draft picks, but we'll see what they do with them, man. We'll see what they
Yeah.
do with them. Actually, before we wrap this up, do you think it's possible that we see Kyler get moved on draft day
No.
because of the contract?
Not even that, like I mean, now that you've spoken it into reality, like I could see a world, but I feel like they've stood by him thus far, and he might be the only good player on the team. So,
Him and Buddha. That's about it.
I wouldn't move him. I like Kyler. I think he's way underrated. But I mean, if they, I don't know. I've been under the opinion that if Kyler came back this season and couldn't win at all, they were going to draft Caleb, but he played himself by winning out of them drafting Caleb Williams.
Okay.
So I think
Okay.
he won enough games when he came back that now it's no longer an option.
All right. All right. I can get with that.
So
But there are a lot of draft. I mean, quarterback needy teams in this draft. Um, the Vikings or the Broncos. I don't think that would be a bad move for either of them. Um, Broncos are probably less to do it because of how much dead money they're eating from Russ. Um, hey man, I don't think Kyler for 11 would be a bad trade for them.
probably not. And I mean, that team's ready to go. So
Kyler and Jay Jettis, Jalen Rager. I mean, not Jalen Rager. Jordan Addison. Jordan Addison. I don't think that would be. I don't think that'd be that bad of a team over there.
no, I don't either. I think it's between the Bears and the Vikings in the NFC North, that might be the two most QB friendly situations I've ever seen for a rookie quarterback.
Definitely,
So
definitely. And if Hawk is going to be ready.
Hawk should be ready, yeah. So you got
All right,
Darisaw as your edge or as your blindside protector, Jetta's Jordan Addison, Hawk, Aaron Jones,
it's not bad. It's
not
not
bad at
bad.
all.
All
Well,
right, I would say let's stop yapping. Let's get up out of here and get these folks, their other divisions.
thanks for sticking around with us.
Yeah.